Hello there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chantal and it's October. It's the biggest art challenge month of the year, so this year I'm going to be taking part in my very first Peachtober. I've got this Cardi sketchbook that I'm going to be using. I've got a lot of ideas and I'm really excited, so let's get started. For this challenge, I'm going to be using mostly my Winsor & Newton ink. I got this Vibrant Tones set, which I'm hoping will be enough to last the entire challenge. It's got a pink, yellow, blue and a green in, and honestly this looked like the nicest set because a lot of the others had very muted tones, but these ones look nice and bright. I think I'll be able to achieve skin tones with it absolutely fine, and hopefully most colours should be absolutely fine to make. I also have my black Winsor & Newton ink, which is left over from last year when I took part in Inktober. Last year I posted every single day on YouTube and I think that's kind of crazy. I like this weekly format. I also did it for Mermaid and March of Robots and I really like this weekly format, so I hope that you do too. I will leave all my other challenges down below if you're interested, but today we are starting Peachtober. I'm keeping the title page nice and simple. I did one layer of coloured ink and then I just went over the top and added black. I wanted it to be nice and flowy and kind of reminiscent of what we're planning to create for this challenge. One of the biggest findings of the coloured ink is that it actually transferred onto the other page. The black ink doesn't transfer at all, but the coloured inks are quite different to the black inks. That was unexpected, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through. The first prompt is bee, so I decided to keep it simple and try and paint a bee. As you can see from my initial thumbnail sketch, I really didn't change this idea very much. I flipped the bee to the other way around because in my March of Robots I had actually already done a bee and I had the bee facing that way, so I decided to flip it. The bee was supposed to be a lot cuter than I made it. I think it looks a little bit scary, but I went in with yellow ink. The yellow ink was supposed to be a lot more pastel than what I was aiming for, so to counter that I did have to make the bee a little bit more orange to actually make it show. I did some tests on this paper. I'm using Cardi 100% cotton handmade paper and I cannot use masking tape or masking fluid on this paper, which is definitely a challenge in itself. I drew the circle but had to keep everything within the lines because I wasn't able to use masking fluid, and that was pretty difficult. Adding the frame around the outside was a spontaneous choice. There was a little bit of yellow ink that had splattered and I wanted to cover it up, so I literally just decided on the spot to do that, and I added some detailing on the bee and the wings. I think it's quite a cute style. It was just a nice warm-up intro piece and I really hope you like it. Moving on to the second prompt now. This is all the same day and the prompt is Cosmos. For this one I decided to keep it really simple. As you can see from my thumbnail sketch, I had literally decided to do a galaxy. I did change this one up quite a bit though. I wanted to do a really fun galaxy using ink because I've never tried that before with ink. This is my first time using coloured ink, I will also say, and it was quite an experience. The black ink did end up covering a lot of the colour that was down below, which was a little bit unfortunate, and when I added the gouache it kind of went a little bit weird with the coloured ink. It kind of mixed rather than sitting on top as a white. Because of the way that the black kind of covered a lot of it, I decided to do a slightly different star, and I did this all without a reference and I think that definitely shows. I really should have used one. I spontaneously decided to just try and add a star on top, and this was a terrifying experience. I don't know if any of that shows. It was really scary. I don't tend to use gouache much and I also used a liner brush and it was so difficult. The reason I didn't end up using black ink right up until the star like in my thumbnail sketch was mostly because I had a lot of lovely granulation and I just wanted that to show through. So this is what I did for Cosmos, a lovely fun galaxy. Galaxies are my favourite thing to paint and I've done quite a lot on this channel already. I'm starting the second day now, and the third prompt is sweet. For this one, I decided to do a gal that has her hair in the shape of a sweet wrapper, and I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to keep in her holding a lollipop. I thought it made it a little bit obvious that the prompt was sweet, just in case the hair in the sweet wrapper didn't really show. I wanted to use my coloured inks and just have fun, so I wanted to use every colour and I wanted to create a really nice vibrant piece. The first layer went well. I wanted the background to be a sky and obviously the skin tone to have some kind of definition. The first layer went well, and then I realised every layer I add beyond that kind of reactivates the layer underneath a little bit, and that is completely different to Black India ink, so I didn't expect it at all. I was hoping that these Winsor & Newton inks would act the same as the black Winsor & Newton inks, but the coloured inks are quite different. So what happened was a lot of the ink ended up smudging everywhere. I don't know if it shows so much in this video, but I had to use Caran d'Ache Neo colours. I got these Neo colours for my birthday, and don't get me wrong, I was super excited to try and use them, but I hadn't planned to use Neo colours for this piece. It just didn't go to plan. The ink smudged a lot. I think it's a cute idea, and I do think the hair actually looks like a sweet wrapper, so I'm still quite happy with how it went. I love the vibrancy too. The fourth prompt is grub, and as you can see from my initial thumbnail sketch, I completely changed my idea. Originally I thought of doing a caterpillar and an apple, and then I realised that it looks a lot like everything I'd seen as a child, and I wanted to try and do something different. So I googled a grub, and a grub is actually kind of different to a caterpillar. It's generally like white and less cute. So I decided to try and make it cute by actually turning the entire piece into a little bit of a pattern. So as you can see, I've got the grub in the center, and then I've got like spirals going around the outside, and I just completely had fun with this piece. I saw a kind of color palette that I liked on Pinterest, and it was mostly muted, so I tried to stick with muted tones for this piece, but it does end up getting a little bit more fun. I think that's because a lot of the colors mixed together and I ended up with a lot of browns, so I had to add a lot more color eventually. I think it's a cute idea. It's very different. Still on the same day now, the next prompt is sprig, and for this one I decided to do a cute little dog with a sprig of rosemary coming out of its head. I was a little bit stumped for this idea, and I had sprig googled lots of times and it just kept coming up with tiny little sprigs of plants, and I was like, I don't really want to just draw a plant, so I decided to draw a plant on a puppy and make it a little bit more cute. Because the ink was being difficult, I decided to just use the pink in a line art kind of way, because I felt like if I coloured in all of the dog it would blend everywhere. And once again I did have to use Neo colours because the ink did blend into the other ink, and it just got this weird kind of border around the outside that I wasn't a fan of. The coloured inks are so different to the black ink, and I was definitely learning that as I was going through. I added a little bit of water to the Neo colours, and I think there was quite a bit of pigment that came out and made it really nice and vibrant. But I will admit, I don't think the sprig looks anything like an actual sprig of plant, but it's a cute dog. We're on the third day now, and the sixth prompt is eye. There was not many routes that I was really going to go with this one, to be honest. As you can see by the thumbnail, I stuck really close to the idea that I had. I wanted to paint an eye. It's been a long while since I've painted an eye. I had a bit of a TikTok series going where I was painting eye makeup looks really regularly, and I haven't actually done that for a while, so I haven't painted an eye in a while. Eyes are like my comfort things to paint. Eyes and galaxies are just so fun and relaxing to me, and I wanted to give them a go with the ink. Because of the way the ink reacts in multiple layers, I ended up just using wet on wet for this one. So I wet the paper and then just really gently added a little bit more ink as I went. The ink spreads really easily, really fast, and it suddenly goes really dark. So it was difficult to try and keep some of that lightness there. This was a really quick one. It took under 10 minutes, and honestly, I really love how it turned out. I didn't bother adding a second layer. The final prompt of the week is crater, and I think this is one of the hardest prompts I've ever had. Like, what are you supposed to come up with for crater? My original thumbnail sketch was so bad. I was really unhappy with it. It was a overhead view of the inside of a meteor or volcano with a smiley face in it. Like, yeah, that's not it. I was quickly coming up with these thumbnail sketches whilst I was on the beach, so I promptly moved on to the next thing, but I knew that I wasn't going to keep that idea. So in the end, I just kind of went for word association. I think I saw a dinosaur come up on my Pinterest and I was like, oh, dinosaurs, like that's similar to crater, that's kind of related. It's a little bit sad because obviously dinosaurs are kind of related for not the best reason, but I wanted to draw a cute little dinosaur. I've actually never drawn a dinosaur before. It was really fun. I used ink, then the ink went everywhere, as you can see, so I had to use pencils to refine the lines. I don't know exactly why it does what it does. It just kind of blends with the layer underneath. Even though the layer underneath is completely dry, it just kind of reactivates. It's so frustrating because I was hoping that these inks would be like identical to the black ink that I use, and they really weren't. I decided to not opt for watercolor inks for this exact reason. I wanted something that once it's down would actually stay down, and these ones didn't. I think the dinosaur's super cute. I really hope you like it. I ended up adding some neo colors just for a little bit more vibrancy, a little bit more opacity. That's the first week of Peachtober complete. Let me know down below which one is your favourite, and please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the series. I'll see you on Sunday for a spooky video, and week 2 of Peachtober on Thursday. Bye bye!